Hello and welcome to Gamersledge podcast. Come in and sit down and relax. I am your host, a light in the very top right. I am Mark, and joining me this week in the big main screen, down there, directions online. Yay, it's Matt. Hi, Matt. Oh, I can't hear you now, Matt.
That would be because I muted my microphone.
It worked. Thumbs up, soldier.
Very well.
And
you're like split in half. At least that's the way I'm. Are you seeing the same thing, Mitchell?
Mm-hmm.
You're like being cut off by your own rectangle.
Well, I'm not on the actual feed. I just am on what you see. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, I know. Because remember, I'm like Photoshop layered on top to everything else. So yeah. And then hi, Matt, Mitchell. How are you?
Hello.
Mitchell joining us as well.
We got to get you a
talk
box to set your computer on or something.
I'm just slouching.
So I just want to tell you right now that XSplit tells me that it is season 3, episode 296, potential death of the spider internet Dragon Quest. But when I enabled the chat for the YouTube event so that people on YouTube can type to us, it still said 295, whatever it was before. So something is wrong with the... and I uninstalled the YouTube output interface and reinstalled it before the show because I'm like, I want to nip this in the bud. I don't want everything saying it's last week's podcast. But everything is last week's podcast. So,
yeah.
Just FYI.
All the fun.
Yes, yay. All the fun. Let's start the show as we always do by going around the room and talking about what we've been playing. Matt, let's start with you.
Okay, cool. Well, considering I haven't been here in 3 weeks, my list is surprisingly short. Been keeping up with Killjoys, which is a show that Mitchell and I both love for, if no other reason, the wonderful Aaron Ashmore.
Yeah.
I've been keeping up, so I'm not deleting them, so you can watch them when you come home.
If we let you come home.
Yeah, if we let you come home. We actually just moments before this started finished off season 7 of Voltron, and I have to say that show somehow manages to keep getting better and better. It's amazing. Also been watching. Careful, there's 2 things on here with the same name that are different things. Marvel's Spider-Man, a.k.a. the Disney XD TV animated series. Been watching that with my other son and keeping up with that. It's pretty solid. It's not super great, but it's fun enough.
See what you did there.
And then watched episode 1 of Iron Fist season 2, and then Spider-Man, Marvel's Spider-Man, the Insomniac developed video game took over my life. So the rest of season 2 of Iron Fist will have to wait. And also in the interim between the time I finished God of War and started Spider-Man, I played a lot of Mad Max, which is... it's a time filler. It's decent. It's not bad. It's just very brown.
Do you think it's like falls in that gray area of guilty pleasure kind of game?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely if you're into that mythos, and it's kind of cool every once in a while to venture in. You know, it's set up as a sequel, I believe. I know I haven't seen Fury Road. I know how horrible that is. Whatever, but
that's actually a really good movie. You should watch it.
I know it just never happens for whatever reason. I think it's set up as a sequel to Fury Road. It's definitely the same character version of Max. And it's got all that trappings, you know. It's got, you know, one of the main villains is Lord Scrotus, and you know, I mean, it's that goofiness and the way everybody talks, and that kind of, I don't know, what would you call it, diesel punk, I guess. World of that whole thing, and you know, you get a car and you drive around the wasteland and stuff, and it's fine. and yeah, that's pretty much where it sits. It's fine. Every zone is pretty much the same as every other zone, and there's way too many of them. That's the game's cardinal sin right there. Is in and of itself, it's not a bad game. It's just there's too many things that are exactly like the last things that you did, which it's just too many of them, right? I mean, there's little to no variety between the areas. So yeah, it was free on PlayStation Plus. So if you have it with PlayStation Plus and you want to go ahead and give it a whirl, it's a perfectly fine game to play. It's just and then obviously, as already stated, Marvel's Spider-Man, which launched last Friday.
Sucks.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It's great.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. It's the worst game ever.
No, it's
it's amazing, spectacular, web of sensational,
superior.
Superior. Yeah, that hasn't raised its head yet. I'm expecting a something relative to that at some. Well, okay, it kind of has in a way, obtusely.
Yeah. Very
Anyway,
obtusely.
tons of references. I mean, just references up the wazoodle. I'm sure there's some even I'm missing, and I have a fairly deep knowledge of Spider-Man and Spider lore, and I'm sure there's things I'm missing. Although it does come complete with the genuine Aunt May's wheat cake recipe. So one day I am going to make Aunt May's wheat cakes and see if I can make it turn out.
What's the difference between a wheat cake and a pancake?
It's a buckwheat pancake. So it's the grain that the flour is. It's whole wheat and buckwheat instead of white flour.
What's buckwheat?
It's another type of grain.
Buckwheat is a member of the Little Rascals.
It's also that, yes.
Yes.
But it's just another type of grain.
Okay.
It's a whole wheat type grain. It grains into a very coarse flour-like product.
I was surprised it was legible when I picked it up.
No, that was the thing too. Yeah, I thought it was like, okay, they'll smudge out like a bunch of it so that nope, they actually printed a honest to gosh real recipe.
There's another one that I picked up. I think it was pot stickers or something.
Oh, it was the thing that Asian. He said step 50, don't burn down MJ's apartment was
something
the
like
quip
that
at the end of it. Yeah,
it's
what was that? I don't remember.
It was like
pork dumplings. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dumplings. That's what it was. Yeah, pork dumplings. And I think that was a reasonable recipe too. I didn't read that one as closely because it wasn't wheat cakes, but which was hilarious because on an episode of Marvel Spider-Man, the animated series, Gwen is stalling Aunt May by having her teach her how to make it, and she's like, "So how are these different than pancakes?" May just puts her arm on her shoulder. They're wheat cakes. It was like a very serious point.
I'm just saying, when you actually cook them, you need to film the whole thing, and then we'll put a post-production piece together. Matt makes Aunt May's wheat cakes.
Fair enough. We will have to do that. But yeah, I mean, do we want to wait until everyone's gone through to talk about Spider-Man, or do we want to?
Yeah, we can since we've all played it, except Mitchell, who's just a backseat player who tells you dodge more.
Although he did have to remind me because I forgot between the time I learned how to use the Peter Parker driven camera, not the photo capture, but the one that you used to do quests with.
The game capture
camera. I forgot how to aim. I couldn't remember. I'm sitting here trying to take pictures with it. He's sending me messages on everything like push L2.
Well, what bothers me about that game camera is there's no way not to zoom.
Yeah, it's real hard to get a good shot with that camera. So I'm glad they gave us a real camera mode, photo mode.
Yeah. All right, so Mitchell, what have you been up to?
Well, I've been watching him play Spider-Man.
Streaming.
I've been watching the One Piece. I'm finally in season 8 of that.
8 of 80?
Wait, before you go further, I actually forgot that I received a comment on the Matt stream of Spider-Man, and I was told to give you the stage direction of talk more.
You mean at all?
Yes. Yes. That was the stage direction I received that I was supposed to relay to you. Talk more.
Talk more.
Talk more.
We'll see. We'll work up to that. Right now, silent works best.
But yeah, I finished Voltron. I'm all caught up on that. I haven't touched Iron Fist yet. Good to know that that's up, so I can work on that.
Dropped the same day as Spider-Man. That was its fatal error.
I've been playing Alliance Alive on my 3DS. I've been playing a bit of Smite here and there. I've still been working on Mega Man 1. I stuck on Gutsman because I can't get past the very beginning of his level because the stupid droppy platforms just go like, and they just drop you, and you're just like, I was on that. I jumped. I did.
Oh, that's another thing. I played the Mega Man 11 demo, the Blockman stage. Yeah, I haven't gotten to Blockman yet. It's fun, but really hard.
Yeah.
And then on my phone, I've been playing FFRK, which now has an Octopath Traveler crossover event. I've also been playing Opera Omnia and Fire Emblem Heroes. And that's about it. Because Funimation still isn't caught up with Hulu on BNHA.
And didn't I see something about they're bringing more Dragon Ball Super to primetime or something on Cartoon Adult Swim? Something
I don't know.
I swear that
I don't watch.
Well,
I know it's done in Japan, but I don't know if it's all been ported or not.
Okay. Sorry, don't bear with me for 1 second. I am trying. Yes, apply. Haha. See, because one of the things that I had for E3 that I accidentally did away with was this, where now I'm big in the circle. See, and then people can see me, so I was redoing it real quick. Let's see. I have watched. Good God, did I watch anything? I don't think I've watched anything. It's been like nonstop games. Like Dragon Quest XI came out last Tuesday, and I have played that, and it is at the same time the most JRPG and the least JRPG that you could ever play. Because you need to do zero grinding in it, which means it's not a JRPG. But at the same time, everything you love about JRPGs is in there. So it's Akira Toriyama artwork, so it's all everybody looks like a Dragon Ball Z character. The main character looks like Trunks. The first character you pick up looks like Trunks. And when they do super moves, they Super Saiyan out before they do the super moves or whatever.
They get pepped.
The pep moves, which I prefer. I heard that guy say whatever the Japanese one, and that one was way better. Whatever it was, anything is better than pepped up. That's such a dumb. But it somehow fits because I legit regret killing any monster in this game. Because they're all so freaking happy just doing their thing. Like there's like a what is it, Dark Moon Drop or whatever, and it's a little purple flower thing, and it's just floating on the wind. It's got a big old grin, and it's so happy to be there. And then you attack it like the monster you are, and do 9 points of damage to it. It doesn't. Its turn comes up. It's just happy. And floats on the wind a little bit more, and then you murder it, just straight up. It's really kind of like disconcerting at times how much you murder everything in that game. And it's all happy to die. Happy to die. It's very strange. But it's beautiful, and I'm really enjoying it. I wasn't planning to pick it up, but I just something connected with it, and I wanted to give it a shot, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Took me 5 hours, no joke. This is 5 hours of me playing, 5 hours to get to the credit roll, to where it's actually introducing the game. So, pretty thorough tutorial. And I will say that so far, this is the most cold-hearted protagonist I've ever seen. He's mostly silent, but in the first hour of the game, it basically, I shouldn't spoil it, but at the same time, I need to talk about this story with somebody, and you guys are here, so you're hearing it. Something happens when you're a child. You're the reincarnation of God, basically. That they call it the luminary, whatever. It's for all intents and purposes like a godlike character, and the bad guys are trying to catch you and kill you as a baby. Your mom tries to get you away. She falls to the enemies. Your little sister takes you and tries to get you away. She falls to the enemies, but she puts you in a basket into the river, and some dude in a town finds you and raises you. And they don't tell the main character that he's adopted. He still doesn't know, even as far as I am in the story. But what's messed up is that apparently you befriend this girl in town, and you two are thick as thieves, can't be separated, and everyone in town just assumes you're going to get married. The grandfather of this chick is saying you're going to get married to her. That your mom is saying, your adopted mom, whatever, is saying you're going to get married to her. And then when you turn 18, the mother is like, oh, by the way, here's this necklace, and you're supposed to take that necklace and this letter to the kingdom to the north. And the chick is all she's hardcore, well, if you gotta go, I guess I'll be waiting here for you. And she's like, water, and you're just like, see ya, and get on your horse and go. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. You actually start to leave out of the town, and then she runs up and she gives you this absolutely worthless pendant to be like, stay safe, it'll keep you lucky. I examined it. There's no magic on it. It's worthless. And then as soon as you take it, you're like, and then just ride out of town. Not another word, not about your future, not about I'll come back for you, nothing. It's just stone cold. It's pretty brutal. So I'm yeah. So yeah, there's that. And been playing that. I've been playing Fire Pro Wrestling and Fire Pro Wrestling World, which came out 3 weeks ago on
Ish.
PS4, still to come on the PC. As we all know, there are no contenders to the throne of the WWE wrestling games that are out there. I am not a huge fan of those, but they are all that's out there. I had always not played the Fire Pro games because I had picked it up on the Game Boy, I'd picked it up on the Neo Geo Pocket, I'd picked it up on the Game Boy Advance, and I could never figure out the control system. So I wasn't going to buy this one, but I was like, no, I really need to see what the alternative is. And I've played it, and I've enjoyed it. Do I think it's worth $60? No. Does it have some problems? Yes and no. Mainly there's nothing wrong with the game, right? It is a different control mechanism. In fact, it's closer to the N64 glory days than anything else that's out there. The problem is that there's no manual counter button or block button, if you will. So I have little niggling things with the control scheme, but it makes sense. I can do it. I can beat the computer every time now. I have mastery over it, and even how to cheat, which I do on a regular basis because why not? But there are a lot of things missing in the... I don't even know what to call it. In the what most people would call the promotion sim aspect of the game or the universe sim aspect of the game. Like, you can set up a tournament that has 24 people in it, but you can only set one computer-controlled character. I mean, I'm sorry, the other way around. One player-controlled character. So if you want to play, 12 of the 24 people so that you can make the outcomes be what you want them to be, too bad. You can only do one. And that seems like a glaring oversight. There is supposed to be a promotion management DLC that's coming out later. I don't know if it's going to have any of that. Signs are pointing to no. But there's just small things that they should have done in order to... Like, if you set a certain match rule type on a belt, you can't use it on any other match rule type, no matter what the circumstance. You have to do it for whatever that is. So if you say it's a Texas light bulb death match, then the only way you can ever have that belt be contended is in a Texas light bulb death match, which is a real thing in the game. So I mean, that's the frustration and the joy of the game, is that there are things in there that you would never see in a WWE game. Like wrestling on fluorescent light tubes. Not good for you,
No.
but you can do it. Yes, that's the whole point, right? That's why it's called a fluorescent light bulb death match. But at the same time, there's these little problems that are very difficult. There's only 4 songs for wrestler entrances in the entire game, which that's super annoying real quick. It's just stuff like that, and I mean, it's still really good and offers a lot of depth, a lot of creativity. It's amazing how much the creator wrestler section of it has blown up just in the time that it's been released here in the States. It's really good. So I would say, like, wait till it goes a little bit on sale. Yeah, it was a $60 purchase if I remember right. I would say hold off a little bit, but it is good if you're looking for a wrestling game, want to see an alternative to the WWE style. Been playing the Division survival mode like gangbusters, and that has been... I still like... I think Division survival mode is probably the most fun I have ever had with any game mode ever, especially as DLC. I kind of wish the entire game was what survival is. And if you're not familiar with survival, that's basically where they take everything away from you, and they try and do it in a storyline way that makes no sense whatsoever. I'm going to send my best agent out in the field to recover this very thing that's dangerous and everybody's going to be out for, so let's only equip him with a pistol. That makes total sense. But beyond that, the rest of it's like fighting the elements, keeping warm, scrounging together stuff. It's really, really good. I really enjoy that mode. And then Spider-Man, I am not as far as you, apparently, because I do not have a couple of the collectibles you mentioned at some point. I'm trying to anti-Witcher this, if that makes sense. Whenever I get a new collectible, I go and clear the map so I don't get the apprehension of seeing a filled map with all that stuff, which is some kind of weird OCD I've developed over the last 5 years. Like, where I'm actually getting apprehensive looking at a map filled with collectibles. I don't know why I feel that way. I never used to feel that way. I just didn't care. Now I care when I look at the map, and I'm like... That's why I was going to pass on Red Dead. I was going to pass on Red Dead 2, and then Lexi said to me, "The fuck you are. You're buying the game so that I can watch you play it." I'm like, all right, I guess I'm buying Red Dead. So now that's pre-ordered. Yeah, but because the first Red Dead really, I think, helped contribute to that apprehension of seeing all these.
That's one to do it.
So many things to do. So in Spider-Man, I've been trying to keep the board clean, if that makes sense, and that means that my story has slowed down to a crawl. Web crawl.
Yeah, I'm not very far in the story at all, I don't think. Let's just say it this way. I have not yet gotten to the point where I've seen any of the stuff that was in all of the promo materials. So I've not gotten to any of that yet.
Me too.
I have no idea where that is in the story.
Yeah, me too. I have no idea either.
So I just last night cleared all of the collectible stuff I had left on my map, except one research station that requires a skill I don't have yet. And of course, the one time I don't carry around 2 skill points, which is what I do all the time, is carry around 2 skill points. One time I'm not carrying around 2 skill points. Guess what? I need to buy a skill that requires 2 skill points.
Well, they mostly all cost 2 from here on out. Just FYI.
Yeah.
So.
No, yeah, I know. 2, a couple of them cost 3.
Yeah.
That's why I usually hold on to 2, just in case I need to buy one for something like this. And, of course, I was like, no, it hasn't been a problem so far. Don't worry about it.
So let's talk about the conversation we've been having on the Hangouts about Spider-Man.
Okay,
so
that all we're getting about Spider-Man. I was like,
about Spider-Man.
Is that
about
all
Spider-Man.
Okay.
So we all agree that the game, and I want to state this, we all agree that Spider-Man is a phenomenal game. No one is saying that Spider-Man is not phenomenal. We're not saying you shouldn't go pick it up. It is a great game, and it is worth your $60, even brand new. It's fantastic. Your $80, whatever slice of it, you end up $120 for the ridiculous collector's edition. Yes.
Physical collector's edition, yeah. If you can still find it.
If you can still find it. So none of us are saying you shouldn't spend your money and that it's a bad game. That is not what we are saying. That's not what anybody's saying. Not even me. Mr. J. Nice says it's alright. Well, he actually said it's aight. I just wasn't going to do that, but now I did. What I was desperately trying to identify. When did I first bring that up in the chat? I think it was Monday.
Oh, it may have been Monday. I thought it was yesterday, but it might have been Monday.
No, I think it was Monday because I last night is when I
identified
last night
was
what
when
it
we had
was.
the revelation. Yeah, okay, so I guess it was Monday then.
So as I was playing Spider-Man, something was bugging me, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I'm like, there should be nothing bugging me. I like everything about this game. I'm enjoying it. It's beautiful. I love the feeling of wall crawling and web slinging, especially Flash running up the walls. For some reason, that's a lot of fun to me. I'm doing the story missions. The voice acting is superb. It's top notch. The writing is on point for this universe. Which, to be clear, this is not the Marvel Comics universe, nor is it the TV universe, nor is it the cinematic universe. It is its own unique entity that takes a little bit from everything. And as I'm playing and dying to the demons over and over again, which is fine, I'm sitting there going, there's something wrong, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And last night, I started talking it over with Ken on the Division stream, and I'm doing survival, which should require all of my attention, but instead I'm just like going through the actions, the emotions of survival, still chewing on what was wrong with Spider-Man, because I had brought it up in the chat, and you guys all said I was nuts, pretty much, or that I was spreadsheeting it to death, as Dave said today, and what I think I finally nailed down as my issue with the game is that this is the game I've been playing for 10 years. It's Infamous 2. It's Infamous. It's, Hulk, I forgot, Ultimate Destruction. It's Horizon Zero Dawn. It's God of War. This style of game has been what we've been playing for a while. And granted, it doesn't translate exactly. Horizon Zero Dawn is not exactly Spider-Man, but it is an open world sandbox game set in a beautiful world where you have a protagonist that has a skill tree of powers that you choose skills from and equipment that you upgrade, and you have side missions to help supplement the story missions, and then you have a billion collectibles. And that's, I mean, even Saints Row 4, as Dave brought up, is a great example of that as well. So, for me, I think the thing that was bothering me was that there was nothing new. And again, that is not to say that it is not a phenomenal game. It's just, kind of niggling at the back of my brain as I'm playing it that I wish there was something new. Like they didn't take one step out. And to Matt's point, Matt, you said what earlier today, which I thought was a very valid point.
It was the analogy of the steak and gravy came up.
Oh yeah, no, I actually meant first game versus second game.
Yeah, that's what triggered that in my mind. Mark said something about, if I like steak, I love steak, but if I've had the same steak for several times, I'm trying to think of what kind of sauces could I put on it, and that triggered in my brain. Well, this is the first game, right? You get the basics down, get the format down, prove that it works. And then in the second game, you can start adding the gravy, the sauces. You can start messing with the formula. You can start adding things. You can start rearranging things. I think what may have been done, I've seen a couple of places where it looks like there may have been something different initially planned than what they finally went with. And I think they may have, and this isn't a bad thing, I think they may have taken a slightly more conservative route with this first game just to make a super tight, super polished, super presentation for the first game. And then assuming that it does well enough that we'll get into a second game, then you can start messing with the formula. You can start adding new ingredients. You can start, changing things up. Because I think with what they've done here is the same thing that they've done with Ratchet and Clank. Nothing in Ratchet and Clank is tremendously new. Even with the original game, it wasn't tremendously new. Third-person over-the-shoulder shooters weren't new at that point. It's just that layer of polish and style that Insomniac brings to a game genre, and that's what they did here. They took, okay, here is the open-world superhero sandbox, now sprinkle a little bit of Insomniac all over it,
right,
and serve.
Right. And I don't even necessarily think that my the thing that's bothering me is even fair to Insomniac, right? I get that it's just the latest game in a trend of games that has made me notice it, if that makes sense. And I still think it's fantastic. The only flaws that I can pick out in the game are comic book reality clashes. So, for example, if you're really swinging through the air at 70 miles an hour and shoot a web from your wrist, it would have to be going the velocity of a bullet in order to actually make it to something for you to stick and grab onto and swing from. And then if that's the case, how could he ever web somebody without murdering them? Straight up, outright murdering them. Because it's like firing a gun every time you use your web shooters. These are the only complaints I have of the game. Like, that's
so basically every comic book hero ever.
Yes, exactly. It's like trying to apply real world logic to friggin' comic books. It doesn't work. Don't do it.
Hitting a street thug in the face with a manhole cover is not going to result in them just lying down and groaning on the ground.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean that's really. I mean, I have zero complaints for this game. There's not, and I don't want what I'm saying about what's bothering me about it to be construed as a complaint with this game. Yes, this is the game that it's happening on. But I think it could have been any other open world sandbox game that I would have had the same issue.
Well, so I think we've just caught up with this genre, right? I mean, this has been a problem with shooters for a while now.
Yes,
right? I mean,
very much so.
Outside of the indie space, and even that is kind of dried up, there haven't been a lot of novel experiences. It's all, at best, a slight iteration on something that came before it, which is generally fine. I mean, especially with a game with a level of polish and everything that they did to this game, it makes it a great game. But yeah, there's not anything new necessarily here. It's just, but it's the same thing. My mom reads the exact same book all the time because all she reads is murder mysteries. They're all the exact same book, but she keeps going back to them because she finds something from each one that's just a little bit different in the presentation that keeps bringing her back. So I mean, this is kind of the problem we're in, especially now. There is so much content of every type in the world right now. Comics, books, TV, movies, games, board games, even. Although that's one area where there might be some more innovation, actually.
Yeah, there
but,
is.
It's hard. How do you differentiate? How do you and this is what's really got to be frustrating for people is, how do you make a Spider-Man instead of a Mad Max? Because really, you could say those two games are the same genre.
Right. Absolutely. And
Mad Max, I haven't thought about since I started playing Spider-Man.
See, I think Spider-Man's differentiator is that, okay, yes, they're taking the sandbox architecture game, open world game, but they're putting such a level of polish and beauty on it, and tight writing, and I think it's to me, I think it's fairly probably one of the best open world scripted games that I've played. I think it's fantastic, and I don't think that it's fair necessarily to call specifically Spider-Man out on it. I think it is, like you're saying, a fatigue of the genre as opposed to somebody doing something wrong or leaving something out. And now I'm interested to see how they're going to innovate from here.
Yeah, I'm also super interested to see if this is the start of the MVGU.
MVGU,
They've definitely laid the hooks for this to be a larger world.
They did, so very much so.
Nice West Coast Avengers joke too.
Yeah, yes, I agree.
It definitely seems like it could be a gateway into something like that.
So when we know Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix in general have 3 games they've been contracted for?
Yep.
So we've got more big probably games coming. It's just a matter of, will it end up being separate, or will we actually have multiple developers working in the same
shared
universe space. Yeah.
And if I'm Marvel, I'd want that, because I've done it in movies. Now it's time to do it, and TV. It's time to do it in video games as well.
Yeah,
and then once they have this continuity up and running, then it doesn't matter what developer they bring on for their piece of it. They can have a different genre with a different developer whenever they want, and that's kind of the beauty of it.
Right, because now they have Marvel Games. Now they have their own games division that isn't developing, but they're managing all of the game development. So they've got their centralized management point. I don't know what to call it.
I mean, think about it this way: you build out a shared continuity and universe. You could have just about every genre of game under a villain or a hero. Like who's a good driver in the Marvel universe? Like a heist crew. Taskmaster. You could have a Taskmaster game where he's planning heists, and then occasionally he has to do fighting, and maybe it's like a fighting game. You've got all kinds of different ways that you could go with that. I think there's
somebody said Guardians would make a great shooter, which
right. Namor would be a great undersea game.
Yeah.
You've got so many different directions that you could go with that it's super interesting to me if they did something like that, but we'll see. Hashtag we'll see.
All anyone has to do is license whatever engine Santa Monica used to make a God of War, and you've got a Thor game.
Yeah,
right there.
Most definitely.
You don't have to do anything. You just right there for it.
Yeah. Yep. And I'd be down with that. All right, so I think that's the last thing I had on my list of what we did. So let's talk about the death of the internet, or the potential death of the internet. So this morning when I logged onto the browser, I went to go check, and I was like, oh, we still have time before... Nope, it passed. So what happened is the European Union passed a bill yesterday, 24 hours... Well, actually 12 hours from when I found out about it, that regulates content providers, big and small. So this most adversely affects Twitch, YouTube, and large content sharing sites, but it also affects small ones, including individual blogs, all the way down to single person websites. And what this bill did, it has a specific article that everyone was upset about, Article 13. And what it did is basically say that you cannot... well, it does multiple things. The first thing it does is, if you're a content provider network like YouTube or Twitch, if I were to show a 30-second clip of something, because we're talking about it, and I want people to have frame of reference, that would normally be covered under fair use. That is not provided for in any way, shape, or form in this new law. So there is no fair use. There's no transformative works. So in other words, if I sing a song that's a completely original work on my YouTube channel, and then Mitchell, you decide to do a parody of that song, yours automatically just doesn't even post.
Dang.
So what they want is they want all content providers to have a built-in algorithm that says if this is in any way, remote, shape, or form somewhat similar to an existing piece of property, intellectual property, then just don't even upload it. It has to be deleted immediately, or you get your pants suit off. And so there was a big rally at the last minute, including from YouTube's chief content officer, saying this needs to not pass, and it still passed anyways. So now they've made the regulation, and if you want to learn more about it, I'm actually going to put it up on the screen for everybody here. You can go to, just type into Google, Save Your Internet, which is a little too late. But it's saveyourinternet.eu, and you can go to About This Campaign, and it talks about what everything was, and it's got some good links to how that's going to affect you. So the interesting thing was the bill is ridiculously vague. It seems completely unenforceable, and much like GDPR, it's going to have to be settled in the courts. Now, if you're not familiar with GDPR, this is another screwy EU thing that they did earlier this year that basically was supposed to be a consumer-oriented bill that said, hey, you have control over your information, which that's great and I agree with. But it was super vague and actually in contradiction of a bunch of other EU laws and American laws, much like this one. And so the short answer was under GDPR, if I'm a company, let's say I'm YouTube, and I am doing business in the EU, and Matt lives in the EU, and Matt says, I want to know all the data you have on me. I have to provide Matt with all that data. That's fine for me. But then if Matt turns around and says, you have to delete that data, well, if I'm a hiring company, there are laws saying that I must hold Matt's application data for so long for records and retention purposes. If Matt's working with a bank, there are financial transaction records that say that these transactions and information must be stored for 7 years. So who's right? This, GDPR law or the records retention law? All this stuff not litigated, and it's in the process of being sued out in court right now. But this other one that just passed yesterday is so drastic that it would basically terminate memes and GIFs. Because you would not be able to... You would have to link to the original thing. You couldn't actually have a representation or transmogrified, transformative, thank you. A transformative version of it in any way, shape, or form. That's all illegal under this bill.
So then what happens to people like cover artists?
Exactly. What happens to most of the people that make their living on YouTube or Twitch? Because remember, Let's Plays would be included in this immediately. You could no longer stream any game, stream any music, any of that stuff. It's automatically not allowed.
I haven't read the bill. I've only read a couple quick summary things, and bills are incredibly boring. So, is there a provision about whether it's monetized or not, or if there? I mean, even to not actually directly monetized, but like say by a Patreon or something.
Nope. You cannot use it. Period.
See, that's weird because I mean, I get it. Cover artists have always been a weird thing. It baffles me that Pentatonics can exist and sell albums. It really does. Because does seem
but they do what most people don't, in that they actually they're signed. They have a label. That label actually negotiates the rights to use to use the actual original music. Whereas most people
for the album stuff, yeah, okay, they would have. So that's the Weird Al model.
Yes.
Which that's cool and stuff.
Well, the difference is that Al doesn't have to, because under fair use parody is covered. So he doesn't have to, but he does. Right. And so, but Pentatonics actually does have to do it if they want to make money off of it. Okay, and so that's it. Yeah.
Because it's like there's a lot of those where it's like, okay, I'm not sure how you make money doing this, but yeah, if as long as it's being negotiated, then I get it. And here's the thing that really gets me about this, though. It's a European Union law, which I still kind of am not exactly sure how that works, but that can't supersede U.S. copyright law. So they can't enforce that on something that's copyrighted under U.S. copyright law.
You're right, however. And this is basically what the EU is doing right now, and it's kind of shady and brilliant at the same time. And that is that YouTube is so big, it's like the too big to fail banks. YouTube is so big that it has physical representations in the European Union. It has physical offices, etc. Therefore, they are then wrapped into this. So U.S. copyright law doesn't matter in this case, because this service is being made available in the EU. Anyone in the EU can see any video that's on the service. Ergo, vis-a-vis concordantly, YouTube has to comply. Same with Twitch. Same with anyone else. Now, I don't know if I'm almost positive Twitch has offices on every continent, and so therefore they would also be, beholden to this as well. Now, do I think that the internet as we know it is going to go away overnight? No. I mean, like I said, this stuff could be in the courts for months, years, etc., until it's fixed, or maybe YouTube, Google. Dave brought up a very good point earlier today. Google has been kind of snippy lately, and they're like, maybe they just pack up all their offices from the EU and make it so that anybody who's detected to be accessing YouTube from the EU simply can't. Because that's what a bunch of newspapers did with the GDPR. When the GDPR came out, basically they didn't want to have to do business in the EU and be beholden to GDPR, so they just made it so that you couldn't anymore. And they lose out on those revenue streams. And the balance for a business becomes, when is this too much to actually build the compliance tools and the stuff to do this versus the revenue streams that we're getting. And so that's really what it's going to come down to for each of these organizations. Because if YouTube says, "Oh, it's worth for us to have these revenue streams," then they'll probably go to court on behalf of everybody. But if they don't think it's worth it, then they'll either not go to court and close up shop that way, or they'll just ignore it and then pay penalties and then take them to court. I don't know. Or get assigned penalties. I don't know how that's going to work. So it's going to be very interesting to see what all of these content providers... And the suck part about this is that I have read parts of the bill, and I get what the original intent was. But the music industry came along and perverted it into something much more far-reaching than it was initially intending to be.
What was the original core?
So there's a couple things. It stemmed out of news and streaming sites. And streaming, I mean like Spotify, etc. they were saying that artists weren't getting paid enough for things like Spotify, etc., and that they had no real power to negotiate that wage, and that things like Spotify could very easily manipulate the data so that people weren't getting the true amounts of streaming, right? Because if you know how much is being streamed, then you know what price to set that's reasonable for your intellectual property right. So that nugget of it sounds fairly reasonable. And then the other part of it was news, right? Because what a lot of bloggers will do today is if somebody does a news story on something, they spent their money to do that station's money to do it, and then someone else will repost that video under their user ID, right? They'll screen cap it, put it up, and then there's no attribution, there's nothing that goes back to the original creator who spent the time and money to do that, and they should be compensated. And I don't disagree with that. I think that's super shady that somebody, I mean, you see it all the time, especially on YouTube, where you want to watch a movie? Oh, guess what? It's up on YouTube. You know, and it's somebody, or Penn and Teller's Fool Us. I'm totally guilty of this. I love that show. I don't have cable. It's not on any of my networks that I'm aware of. I don't think it's on Hulu or anything else. But I'm perusing the recommended section, and here's 3 different channels that have uploaded different clips from the show. And so I'll go and watch it there. And they've pitch shifted the voice or something so that you can't, you know that it's the original, but they're basically saying Penn and Teller is not being compensated. CW is not being compensated for that because somebody uploaded under their thing. They're getting monetization for it. They shouldn't, and etc. And I agree with that. But the blanket policy rules that they have laid down here are so unenforceable and draconian that it's not a solution. It's actually a technical nightmare waiting to happen. I mean, YouTube already has an algorithm. It's not perfect, but one of the interesting things about this law, the way that it's written, is let's say that I am a business. Let's say I am the CW and I own Penn and Teller stuff. And Mitchell comes to me and clears rights with me so that he can broadcast Penn and Teller's Fool Us on his YouTube channel. We've cut that deal. We're going to take a slice of the revenues that he brings in through his service. Under this thing, that scenario can't exist. The actual business holders and IP holders have no recourse, discourse, or anything involved. The bill states that it has to be an automatic algorithm that immediately deletes content upon upload if any similar thing is found on the platform. Which is crazy.
So was Metallica the main source of inspiration?
I don't know.
No, I don't even know if they're still on that bandwagon or not. But
they are. But yeah,
it definitely sounds like a case of some lobbyists got to some politicians, and the politicians don't know left from right when it comes to technology, and they make a bunch of rules that sound great on paper to them, and then we have a hard enough time as human beings crafting laws for things that exist in the physical world. There's just no good way to craft laws for this kind of stuff other than, use the judicial system for what it's actually supposed to be used for, which is human being insert brain here and interpret the meaning of the law rather than, the red line letter of it. But we've gotten away from that, at least in American society.
What I think is so frustrating is that the whole concept of the internet was an open and free entity that governs
until somebody
itself.
Came up with the first ad.
Yeah, well, that governs us or doesn't, governs itself or doesn't. That's the whole point, right? It's open and free. Yeah. Anything can happen. And people keep trying to impose order on it without understanding what it is. And that's not going to work. I mean, not if you want it to exist and thrive. If EU keeps doing this stuff, there is going to be a point where people say, I'm going to take my ball and go home. I don't want to play. The cost to enter is too high. And it is going to have the opposite effect of what they want it to have. What this frustratingly seems like to me is a bunch of existing companies that don't want to learn and grow. It's a bunch of people who say, but we had it good when we controlled the entire market back here, and we want to have it like that again. And the internet flies in the face of that because anyone can do anything on the internet. And if you decide to pay me for it, then there you go. That's it. I don't need to go any further to make a living. And yes, there are bad people out there who take advantage of that. And yes, there are people who aren't using it for that kind of noble purpose. But at the same time, I'd say that's not the majority. I'd say that's a minority. Most people tend to create content that's good, and that content rises to the top. And that's kind of the whole point of the internet. You know, when Trent Reznor said, I'm making Ghosts 1 through 4 and putting them online for $5, it flew in the face of the music industry because he thought about it in a way that nobody had until that point. And he made millions and millions of dollars because he cut out all the middlemen. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's what the music industry seems to be saying, is there is something wrong with that. And I disagree with that personally, but I just think that, you know, companies have to evolve and keep growing just like people do if they want to continue to get better at stuff. And that seems like that's all this legislation is designed to do, is try and retrench the 1990s for the music industry. But that's just my 2 cents on it.
And take everything else along with it. Well,
and take everything else along with it. Like, seriously, an internet without memes? Do I want to live in such a place? No.
How will we ever reach the point in the society where we're like the whatchamjiggets from Next Generation, where we only talk in memes?
I know, right? Shock of the walls fell. Ken asked me last night, are you worried about this? And I'm like, well, yes, because video reviews would be a thing of the past. Not that we do a ton of them because it requires a lot of production time, but still, you could never use...
That's IGN's entire business model.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So, I mean, you could never do a video review. We could never do... we can't really do the live streams anyways. We get, where we're talking heads over a live stream. Those get blasted to hell on copyright warnings or monetization warnings anyways, so I don't care because it's news. We're talking about it live. I could fight it, but why put my energy into it? We're not monetized on YouTube anyways anymore, so who cares? I like the system that we talk about stuff. I can't play a trailer for a movie. I can't, or for a movie or video game. We can't use any sounds from video games. We can't do anything fun. All Let's Plays go away. I mean, for a lot of people, that's the bread and butter. I mean, I still have the website. I could post written stuff there, like people read anymore. So yes, I'm worried about it, but I'm not. I'm really more interested to see what the response of these big organizations like YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion, Twitch, all these content platform providers. And see, GameSpot is the interesting one, right? Because GameSpot has its own content system. Yes, they post to YouTube now, but for a very long time they were completely insular to the GameSpot website. If you wanted to watch a video, you had to go there. And technically they're a content provider as well, but they don't have offices in the EU that I am. I know they have freelancers. I don't think they have an office in the EU. And if they don't have an office in the EU, then they are not beholden to EU's laws, and they could exist on their own. IGN, similarly, they do have offices in the EU, but again, they could choose to divest and just go with contractors, I suppose. So that's interesting. Yeah. But I mean, it's almost every industry is affected by this one way or another. It's kind of weird.
This, much like the net neutrality stuff and the GDPR, even, it's not today, it's not tomorrow. It's at least 3 years, probably closer to 5 to 10 years before we'll see where it's actually going and what the impact will actually be. One, because it's government and nothing moves quick. I can say that. I was in government. Nothing moves quick.
Yeah.
And when it does, it's actually worse. And, you know, and two, yeah, like you said, I mean, some of this stuff could be tied up in litigation for easily 5 to 7 years.
See, and the only hope I have for net neutrality is that California is passing a bunch of bills to repeal that, and that's kind of the same. They're using the EU stance against the United States, basically, right? They're saying we're big enough that there's no company that's not going to want to do business with us, and so therefore, are they really going to make a separate set of technology guidelines and business practices for just California, or really actually trickle down to everybody else? So, Mr. J. Knight says, brash government decisions not being perfect. Tell me it ain't so.
The well thought out ones sometimes aren't any better, but the brash ones are worse.
Yeah. Well, I think we've beaten this.
See the sending well.
It'll be interesting to watch for sure.
It is definitely, well, I tend to see it. It's one of those pendulum things. You know, everything's swinging one way right now, and then something radical will shift, and it'll all start swinging back the other way.
Yep.
And we'll sit here going,
I'm getting seasick. Twitter.com/Gamersledge. Although, to be honest...
Gamer wham. Yeah, I still haven't fixed my stupid posting thing again, so I haven't been posting anything.
To be honest, this is now embedded in the actual Twitch feed also. So if you're on twitch.tv/Gamersledge, you can see this whole feed right there. We can look at even me posting the pictures out of photo mode that I made in Spider-Man, that would be illegal.
No, wait it, because you're creating the content.
It's a derivative of the original content. Therefore, it's illegal. That's why I say this is so draconian. It's insane.
And, but as you said, unenforceable. So, you know, it falls apart very, very quickly.
Yeah. Did I pass it like a long time ago? I think I did.
I didn't see it, but it's been a while.
Yep, there it is. Okay. So, let's see. First thing. WildStar. WildStar developer Carbine Studios shut down last week. They announced it out of the blue. They said they were not going to be able to keep the game going. They refunded all purchases from July 1st forward. And then all the devs, which is a team of about 50, were all let go. So good luck to everybody.
I hadn't heard of this. Well, what was this? How long had it been going on for?
It was an MMO, and it started, I want to say 2015. Let me look in another window here, and then quickly pull that window off so that everybody doesn't see the window. WildStar. WildStar came out. It was on. 2014. June of 2014 is when it came out. It was a sci-fi MMO, and at first it was a little amorphous as to what the actual gist of it was. You could play as critters like raccoons or whatever. Space trash pandas, if you prefer. You could play as humans, and there were lots of different game types to things to do. I never played it. I actually just downloaded it the other day because Jimmy from Shank the Noob said that I should really try it, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. And I downloaded it, and that's as far as I got, and now it's dead. So. I've killed yet another thing somehow by touching it. So hopefully the devs can land on their feet to other places. Spider-Man's photo mode is amazing, and I spend more time building covers to things like the Daily Bugle. Although, to be fair, it actually does have, and this was the thing that impressed me the most, they have the different filters. One of those filters is actually magazine print. And what most people don't know about magazine prints is that magazines are not photos. The way magazine printing works on a printing press is it's actually a bunch of small dots of ink, and there's space in between them. If you get a magnifying glass, you can actually see that pattern. And same goes for newsprint. And what was killing me is they actually had the magazine print dots like a real magazine. I'm like, there's no reason for that level of detail to be in this photo mode of this game. So yeah, I should have done that for this, but I like this picture so much I just left it kind of as the thing.
It's funny too, because I guess the review build of the game did not have photo mode in it yet. That wasn't that was included in the day one patch. So all the people that have been talking about it pre-review are like, yeah, we couldn't talk about photo mode because we weren't able to play with it because it didn't exist.
Yeah. I mean,
and I love, this picture here. What I love about this game is from a certain angle and a certain distance, everything looks like a comic book.
Yeah.
But then you change the angle and you change your distance from it, and it looks photorealistic.
It does.
How do you do both of those things in the same time?
Crazy good. It's crazy good. And if they gave me like Spectacular Spider-Man and Web of Spider-Man and
yeah, it kind of sucks that this is the only cover. I'm imagining as the DLC or patches updates come out, we'll get more covers and more magazine fronts and Daily Bugle fronts and stuff.
I hope so. That was
that's
maybe the Division. So dumb. That is probably another stream. Don't know which one. Oh, this is the one thing that I like had a cow about in photo mode. So when you're in a construction site, there is a limit on the distance of the camera, how far you can make the camera away from you. Because Spider-Man's perched on the very top there, on top of the beam that these guys are being held from. And I wanted to go far enough away that I could get him in frame on that beam with this, doing his McFarlane Spider-Man. You can't do it. I was very frustrated by that. I have not tested outside of the construction site to see if that was a limitation of being in a construction site.
You are very limited on how far away from Spider-Man you can zoom out. And I assume that'll be patched later. But yeah, that was that was one of the tricky things. There were a couple of shots I was trying to get, and you couldn't frame it. You couldn't get the framing. It just wouldn't work. Selfie mode is pretty awesome. Spider-Man
is getting a New Game Plus mode. Somebody said, hey, just like God of War, you guys should do this. And Insomniac responded, oh, it's already done and in testing, so it should be coming out soon. This was the notification about the Save Your Internet stuff that I did yesterday before the vote. And then... Is that this?
No.
Yeah,
that's your Spider-Man. That's your last Spider-Man.
Okay, that's my last Spider-Man. Then I went to the Division. Well, now see this
that's
one.
That's your last Spider-Man.
No, this one.
No, that's Dragon Quest. That's Division. Yeah, that one worked there for some reason.
But then this
one's Dragon Quest.
Yeah, that one's Dragon Quest. It's like so weird that I don't know what the heck is going on with the live feed. I'm wondering if it's a problem with the live feed for XSplit or if it's a problem with the live feed for YouTube. It's because that's just weird.
Well, since it's hitting both here and YouTube the same way, I think it's XSplit.
Yeah, I'll have to contact technical support and find out. But yes, that's it. It was kind of a light week. I don't think there was anything. We'll just open up the old Game News HQ and see how long it takes this computer to render it. Because it takes forever on every computer that I've ever used. Obviously, well, so clear as mud. We know for sure that Henry Cavill will not be appearing as Superman in the Shazam movie for a cameo. It is, as of yet, unclear whether or not Cavill is completely done as Superman. It looks like it, but at the same time, his agent made a declaration that he still has the suit in his closet, and they're not going anywhere, so I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Another thing we didn't post up there, and I don't know if Mitchell saw this or not, but the Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee version of the Switch was announced.
Cool.
I can't tell from his reaction.
That's cool.
Also, there's a Nintendo Direct tomorrow to cover the streaming service, or not the streaming service, the online service, which starts on the 18th.
Cool.
Well, cool, except for right now it's all free, and starting the 18th you have to pay for it.
So,
but it'll have the cloud saves and the free NES classic games.
I would be remiss if I did not mention the iPhone event today from Apple, which
want an incrementally slightly better iPhone? Here, give us $1,000. Sorry, that's every phone. That's all the phones,
and it's not 1,000. So if
it depends on which version you get.
Yeah, if I were to get the iPhone XS, which they made great pains not to say is XS, but I kind of actually think it's an XS. If I got the iPhone XS Max 512 gig version, guess how much that is?
Too much.
Well, the number I saw was 1,100, but
no,
I don't.
Starts at
1,100. Yes, starts at 11.
So if I buy the biggest version one, it's $14.99. And I, as a Apple user and consumer of their products, look at that and go, I can buy a new MacBook Pro for that. And not just a base model. Like, I can buy a new MacBook Pro. I am now opening this on the stream because I have to do this. Store.apple.com. I can go buy a MacBook Pro. MacBook Pro. Buy. 13-inch. That's fine. 2.3, 128 gigabytes of storage for $12.99. I can upgrade my RAM. I can upgrade to 16 gigs of RAM and have a full laptop for $14.99.
And they're charging that amount for a phone.
Super cool and have an iPhone.
So here's the thing. I looked at this and I'm like, as a phone, it makes 0 sense whatsoever. However, as a 4K video camera that does 60 frames a second and would be the most powerful camera I have ever owned, that actually starts to make sense in a weird way. Plus, my wife is offering to bankroll half of it, so I'm like, maybe, but it's still the case that my phone is fine. I've got the 7 Plus, I think, and it's fine. It does fine. I love this phone. Nothing wrong with it. I really need to upgrade my MacBook Pro because it's basically just a media server at this point because it's old and it's slow, which means if it's a Mac and it's old and slow, that means it's super old. I've had it for a long time. The problem is
Mac.
No, because they will last far longer than your PC laptop. Let me tell you. You don't have problems where the night before you go to school, your entire laptop doesn't work. I'm just saying.
We don't talk about that.
Exactly. Exactly. But the problem is that one of these things I can get through my phone carrier in a monthly installment, and the other one I can't. And so, from that perspective, I don't. Am I going to get one? Maybe. I don't know. I really, the camera is super nifty. They did announce the low cost version that's not got OLED, and it's LCD, and it's only $749. And they're able to now do the depth perception stuff that they did with the two cameras with the single camera, all using software. So that's cool. But then the new one has better options for it, more software, bells and whistles. And as a video camera, I will tell you that this frickin' phone is probably the best camera that I've ever had for video. So if it's an even better camera, I'm kind of tempted to do it from a camera standpoint. I don't need it as a phone. The AR is still gimmicky for me, so that's not a super selling point. The phone itself is not a selling point, but from a camera standpoint, I kind of like the idea of having an integrated device that way. I'm not going to lie. I do think the price is ridiculous. 100%. As a phone. Yeah. But maybe not so much as a camera. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, and more and more, it seems like that's the idea. It's not really a phone; it's a internet connected camera
and computer, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, but really, it's the way that it's been played. The last couple iPhones have been played up, and the way that a lot of even the Samsung and then some of the larger Android brands have been played up. They really play up that it's a camera that you can connect to the internet so that you can, share your life because your life needs to be shared. Which,
it's just
some of us don't buy into. But.
Or they just designed it to, play that one game that, everybody loves.
A whole phone that exists for a reason of playing a game.
Hey, you know what? You say that, but then Todd Howard came out from Bethesda and showed that new Elder Scrolls game running on the iPhone XS, and I will say it looks damn sexy. I totally want it.
Now they're I'm going to say it this way because it's how everybody in the universe reads it. They're the XR, the XS, and the X Max, right? Which to me makes no sense because at very least they should have done XR, XSE, X Max. Then at least that way there's like a progression to it.
No, the XS thing makes sense because that's what they've done for all their phones. It's the 6.
Yeah, but they didn't have a lower and a higher. I mean, the S was always the highest one before. They didn't have a top above tier one when they've done this before.
Yes, they did.
So if they're going to go.
Yeah, this one right here. It was the 6 Plus. It was the 6, 6S, 6S Plus.
Okay, yeah, but it kept the S. It didn't have 3 completely different monikers for each one.
Yeah, when they did the 8, I think it was the 8, the 8C, and the 8S, and the 8S Plus.
Well, yeah, okay, but again, but the difference between the S and the S Plus was the S versus S Plus. So at least there was some sort of connectivity there. I mean,
sure.
I get it. All right, maybe they copyrighted the letter S. I don't know, but
See, what's funny is they skipped 9, and they went straight to they went 8 and 10, and now that they should be on 10, they're on 10S. it's like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, what are they going to call the next one?
I know. Is it going to be the 11 or is it going to be the 9? I'm like, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the 11.
Or, if they can do what they want to do, I think they'll just be iPhone. I think they want to get away from...
No, I think if they wanted to do that, they would have done that years ago. They would have just said, it's the new iPhone.
They did it with iPad. Yeah, I don't know why they did it with iPad but not iPhone. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway. That's way too much iOS talk. The Last Remnant remastered was just announced today or yesterday. I think it was today for PS4. So Square Enix game that previously was only on an Xbox that I didn't own will have a remastered version coming out December 6th on PS4.
And only like 20 years too late.
It's not that old, is it?
It's
only like 12 years old.
It's pretty old. I think it's older than that.
Well, 360 era, so 2008. So it's only 10 years old.
10 years old, yeah. All right.
20 in computer years, sure.
I'm trying to... Marvel Spider-Man opens to almost 3 times the sales of God of War in Japan.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm looking. Nope, I don't care about anything dealing with Fortnite. James Bond cars coming to Forza Horizon 4.
So I don't know. I think it just happened, right? The Blops 4 Battle Royale beta was this last weekend, right?
Yes.
Did you partake at all?
I did not, sadly.
Okay. So everything I've heard about it so far was very positive if you're into the Battle Royale thing. Being kind of framed up as are you on a PlayStation and you want a battleground on PlayerUnknown's Battleground, whatever the heck that thing is called.
Yeah, you got it. PlayerUnknown's Battleground.
Just call it PUBG.
Yeah.
PUBG.
So you want that kind of thing, but you want it on your PlayStation. Well, here's Call of Duty, and you can do this, and that it may steal out from underneath, at least on consoles, steal out PUBG's share of that style of battle royale game. PC people are hard to explain, so that's a whole different critter.
Well, but this was the PUBG dipped under 1 million players for the first time since like a year ago. This week actually, so that was a big piece of news. And then there's already people saying it's the end of the PUBG run because Fortnite is taking over everything. But to be fair, on the PC there is a lot more competition because you've got Realms Royale, which is actually a lot of fun. It's a medieval fantasy based.
Hasn't everyone turned on that one though? Didn't they do something and now everybody hates it?
Oh, if they did, I missed it. I've been too busy on my console.
Exactly.
I'm not a good PC Master Race person apparently. This is an interesting one that I missed posting, but I saw earlier, and I thought you would like, Matt. Matt, you like Legion just like I do, the very amazing FX show about the son of Professor X. The showrunner from Legion is actually writing a live-action Alan Wake series.
Ooh.
Yes. So that should be quite good. And if you're not familiar with the Alan Wake games, a novelist goes to a scary town and finds out that strange things are afoot.
Wow, that was like I never thought of the plot that generically. That's like
super generic.
Like a lot of things.
Yep, it's super generic. There's a new game from the creator of the Shadow of Colossus in the works. They say it's an entirely new IP. I'm almost guaranteeing now there will be a glowing girl in a white dress and some sort of boy protagonist. I'm just calling it now. I'm fearless in putting that stake in the ground for Team Ico.
Hopefully,
there wasn't a girl in a white dress for the Guardian, Last Guardian.
That you know of. Maybe the girl in the white dress was in our hearts as we played.
Sure.
You were the girl in the white dress.
That's right. That is correct. And the game was rescuing you from not having Team Ico games.
I still have to play
Then
that.
no.
It's the only thing. It's never...
I have to say it did not have the inherent staying power as Shadow of the Colossus or Ico for me. I saw this earlier, and it's my favorite friggin' thing. I wanted to see what company actually, or what company actually wrote this review, because I saw it as I was looking through the Reddit trailer things. The name of the story is NBA 2K19 is a nightmarish vision of our microtransaction stuffed future.
Wow.
It's Kotaku. Right.
Oh, surprise for me, because I didn't realize it was coming back this quick. The Gifted Season 2 starts on September 25th. So, did you ever watch Season 1?
I surely did not.
Wow.
I think I got through most of it. That's the one with Polaris, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I got through most of it. I don't know if I saw all of it, but I might have missed things here and there, but I know the gist of it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. So we'll see how Season 2, if it can keep going. They definitely drew some lines at the end of Season 1. If they stick with it, we'll have to see how it plays out.
Damn, I can't find the actual story. It was a 404 when I went to the link. What was it? Oh, NBA 2K19. Oh, there it is.
That's a basketball game, right?
Yes.
That's one of them sports games.
It's sports ball game. And that's the other thing is that FIFA is now under fire in Belgium because Belgium passed a law about no loot boxes and everyone has complied but EA, because FIFA makes them $800 million just on boxes alone. And so they did not comply, and so now the court is looking into suing them.
Dang. I mean, I guess Belgium could just not have EA games anymore. So, I mean...
That is the choice. Yeah, we'll see. There is a Total Biscuit bundle available for purchase, and all the proceeds go to Total Biscuit's wife and child. So if you feel like supporting, you should go check that out. And I think that's really...
I don't know. You guys didn't talk about the Doctor Who release date last week, did you?
No, we did not. I'm never going to get caught up in time.
Oh, hurry up. You got...
I know, I just need to do it.
You've got wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
It's October 7th is the new season premiere. New Doctor,
that's not nearly enough time.
What?
That's not nearly enough time.
And it is on Sundays now. It's moved back to Sundays. So that was its classic time slot, was on Sunday, and it's moved back there. So yeah, it'll be interesting. New Doctor, new TARDIS, new crew, new companions, or whatever they're going to call them this time. Kind of made it sound like they're not going to call them companions anymore, but we'll see.
I mean, to be fair,
friends.
yeah, to be fair, companions does sound sexual, and always has.
Okay, maybe I guess I heard it first when I was 5, so I don't have that association. The only companion that I think of that way is Inara.
But it's kind of weird because companion's such a formal word, right? So either
it's British, of course it's formal.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah.
Go get a tea.
And honestly, I'm not sure that they're generally referred to that way in the show that way.
Oh, is that
It's
a
just
mistake?
it's he doesn't refer to them. He or she does not literally refer to them as their companions. Very often, I don't think that's just the way the metaverse fandom refers to them.
Okay.
Do we have to call the Doctor a they or a them now?
I'm just gonna I'm just gonna go with the Doctor. We're gonna avoid pronouns at this point.
Yep.
I'm good with that.
That's good stuff right there. Welcome to the State of the Union.
Only
2018.
Only a current college-age kid would ask that question.
No, because I actually thought that. I thought it a while back. That's why I'm laughing so much right now. Because I'm like, I don't know what PC is. I'm just going to go with the Doctor. Yep, I think you're safe and on course there, Matt. All right, well, that's going to bring us to the part of the show where we thank all of our patrons for supporting us. You can support us over at patreon.com/gamersledge, where for as little as $1 a month you can get your name on every show that we do, and we'll run that list of folks at the end. For those that support at the $5 level and above, we like to take this part of the Gamersledge podcast to thank them. So thank you, Justin. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, John. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Pat. And thank you, Arturo. So thank you very much. And then we'll also end out the show with final thoughts. Let's start with you, Mitchell. Final thoughts for the week.
I really want to play Spider-Man, but I can't. And Gutsman's level is a jerk.
I totally thought it would have been more dodge more. I thought that would have been your final thought.
Oh, no. I don't tell him to dodge more. He just kind of gets exploded sometimes with shields and stuff. And it happens. I do get sometimes frustrated with him when he's like, they're close to the wall, but then he insists on punching them instead of webbing them. But then sometimes he'll purposely try and get people close to the wall just by like going thunk, let him take a step back, wait for his web loader to reload, shoot, wait, shoot.
It's because, lots of times what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to punch them one more time so they get close enough to the wall to web them up, and then they die on me. Stop it. We didn't talk about that at all. The combat is actually a lot more brutal than I would have thought. You can get taken down by a bunch of street thugs as Spider-Man. That doesn't seem quite right, but at the same time, you had to give the game some sort of challenge and edge to it. And combat stays...
Listen, combat is lifted directly from Shadow of War / Batman. I mean, it's real darn close.
Faster. It's a much faster version of it. But
Shadow of War is almost that fast.
Okay, I haven't played the Shadow games.
So. It's pretty close. That's not a bad thing. It's good combat, but it punishes you if you do not pay attention to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Even on the easiest settings.
Yeah, dodging. You have to learn exactly how far you can push the hit combo before you need to start mashing the dodge button.
It makes sense though, because Spider-Man isn't necessarily a durable hero. He survives, and because he's agile, he's not like tanky.
No, he's tanky. He's tanky.
He's tankier than that.
Yeah,
he is.
I mean,
the bullet's gonna hit him hard.
The dodging the bullets. I understand the bullets hurting and stuff, but like, how would you go toe to toe with the Rhino if some average street thug on the thing can take a third of your life bar with one punch?
Okay, I'm not saying it's exactly 1-for-1. I mean,
I know, but they had to do it to make it give it some sort of challenge to it.
Yeah.
See, and the other thing about that for me is that his super strength is very fluctuating in this game.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like watching this last season of Voltron. It's like, wait a minute, but like 30 seconds ago it couldn't, but now would you?
Power of friendship.
Plot power. Instead of plot armor, it's plot power.
All right, man, final thought.
Plot power. I think plot power is my final thought. Yeah. I don't know when the next season of Voltron drops, but I'm much anticipating it. I'm way behind on comic books. End of line.
Let's see. My final thought for the day is if you're looking for a light RPG that's going to be solid and last you a while, go for Dragon Quest XI. I'm really enjoying it. If you like Dragon Ball characters, can't go wrong.
Killing floating little flowers that are smiling at you.
Yep, you want things to die happy at your hand.
It's very Japanese, isn't it?
It's very
happily go.
Happily go on its way to the other side. It's super weird, but at the same time oddly satisfying. So, Dragon Quest XI. We'll end the show as we do with a sage piece of wisdom to carry you on until the next time that you see us. Mitchell.
Oh gods, what?
What did one bean say to the other?
I don't know.
How you been?
You are going to the special hell, my friend.
Until next time, game on!
You just saw Firefly.
Is that the bean hell? I'm just Oh, crap.
Sure.
Like, stop.
I had it all.
Stop.
Yep. No, yep.